Well, thanks for watching our extended edition of Coffee with the Candidates. We're here with North Dakota Governor and Republican presidential candidate Doug Burgum. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here.
We're also here with a panel of undecided Republicans from Mahaska County. You all have some questions for Governor Burgum. Marianne, we're going to start with you. You have a question about faith.
Yeah, it appears you have not stated your religious beliefs. At least I have not found that you have. Would you be willing to share with us what those are and how will that impact your position on abortion?
No, well, happy to share my faith journey. I grew up in this small town, North Dakota, 300 people, and we had two churches. One was Lutheran, one was Methodist. Our family my grandfather was born in Wales, had immigrated to the United States with my great-grandfather after my great-grandmother had passed away. He came over as a widower with kids. Ended up in North Dakota. And so our family was part of that Methodist church, and that was something, that was part of our whole life growing up. I was president of the Methodist Youth Fellowship, all of my buddies, that were there. And that's the faith that sustained me, when my dad passed away when I was a freshman in high school, and it's what sustained me when I lost my older brother. There was three of us kids, and he passed away in 2010, and when my mom passed away in 2005. So it's been a key part of all I've done, whether it's building companies or leading the state. You have to have we all understand that there's everyone I think that is successful in this world knows that there's higher powers out there that are beyond the imagination capability of what we have. I mean, the universe that we have is expansive and huge, and it helps, at least for me. I mean, two of the things that I carry with me every day as part of leadership is humility and gratitude, because those are two things that I think we have to be humble in the face of this amazing universe we're in, and we have to have gratitude for the abundance that's around us, and that affects everything that we do. But I'm also driven by curiosity, and I'm also driven by an understanding that we shouldn't be judging others. And so I've always been curious and open-minded about people that might have faith beliefs that are different than mine, whether it's here in America or around the world. When you build a company and you have people that are working for you in 132 countries, not only do you see people that have different faiths and different beliefs, but you also see people that are growing up in the context of countries where they had people that didn't have the right to vote, they didn't have the right to assemble, they didn't have the right to free speech. I mean, when you're a young kid building a global company and you get to see all of that around the globe, you can understand America doesn't have to be perfect to be exceptional. This is an exceptional country. It's worth fighting for, as you know, with your family. But it's important. And your question about abortion, I've been a pro-life governor of a pro-life state and have signed a lot of pro-life legislation. But I've got, from day one that I announced, my position has not changed, because I believe in the 10th Amendment, and people fought for 50 years to have Roe v. Wade overturned. So I support the Dobbs decision, returning it back to the states, and that's where it should stay. And so I had said to people I would not sign a federal abortion ban. I mean, the chance of a federal abortion ban ever getting the president is really slim, but I wouldn't sign one, and it has nothing to do with abortion. It has to do with the 10th Amendment that says the states created the federal government. They empowered the federal government with a limited set of powers, and a lot of people who are confused in this country. The states created the federal government, not the other way around. And then that 28-word 10th Amendment says, and those things that are not specifically delegated to the United States are reserved to the states or to the people. And that's where these decisions should be made. Decisions that are so important have to be made closer to the people. And when we're in a Cold War with China, proxy war with Russia, proxy war with Iran, and the president's in charge of national security, which includes border security, and our current president isn't doing that. He's not protecting our economy because he's not protecting the US dollar as a reserve currency of the world. These are things that affect every single American every single day. And as president, I would focus on those limited roles, do them well, and return the rest of the power to the states.
We are going to get a little bit to immigration later,
Yeah.
but first I want to go to Popeye. She has a question for you about health care.
Sure.
So healthcare costs, as you know, continue to rise, and they're impacting everybody in the United States. What specific policies and strategies do you propose to address this ongoing issue, and how do you plan to make that affordable, accessible, just accessible healthcare for all Americans?
Well, we're sort of coming off of the 10th Amendment. I mean, the two things that the federal government has, at least in the last 25 years, has kind of convinced people their job is to subsidize higher ed with the $1.6 trillion of student debt, and then they're going to subsidize healthcare. Like somehow it went from, that's what the government does is healthcare. I mean, we fought about Obamacare for 15 years, and it's a non-actuarially sound, meaning non-financially stable insurance program that only about 20 million Americans use. And people, that's the one word people know. It doesn't even cover 10% of our nation, and it's not working. The promise of that was, it's going to lower the cost. And then what has the federal government done? I talked about red tape earlier. They came in, when Obama came in, and they said, we're going to mandate that all hospitals and clinics start using electronic healthcare record software from certain companies. I mean, this is one of the biggest political payoffs that's never been reported. There's been $1 trillion spent on implementing electronic healthcare records across our medical system nationwide since about 2009 when this legislation began. First it was a subsidy and then it was a penalty. You did not get paid your full Medicare, Medicaid payments if you hadn't achieved a definition of meaningful use of about five different companies' software that were sort of hand-picked off that list. We spent $1 trillion on IT, and then at the end of that decade, doctors were seeing fewer patients per day. In any industry, if you want costs to go down, you have to increase productivity. And now we're in a bigger bind because now we've got most of the doctors and nurses in this country are baby boomers. They're retiring. At the same time, this baby boomer bulge is getting older. So we have more people that require care and less providers. And we had a federally mandated archaic old IT system that lowered the productivity instead of increased it. So the first thing I would do as president is say, if anybody comes to me with a proposal about healthcare, it's not about we need more money. It's like, no, we need more productivity. Does this idea actually allow doctors to see more patients per day or less per day? Because you see more per day, then your price per visit can go down. So we've not approached this with a common sense business approach, and the federal government now's involvement is so deep in healthcare, it's driven the cost through the roof. The one industry from 2000 to 2023 that's grown faster than inflation every single year, whether inflation was low, inflation's high, the one that's risen faster than that, healthcare. Which is the industry the federal government's most involved with? Healthcare. Any of you, if you go to buy a car or even a used car, you can go to the thing and see a sticker in the window and go, this is the price of the car. You want to get knee surgery? Good luck trying to find out what that costs. Good luck trying to find out what any procedure costs. We have no transparency in pricing. No one can shop. People get locked into certain providers. They can't go. And so we have to actually create markets. There's some new things that are happening. There's a nationwide effort by a group of physicians for reform that are trying to actually create a competitive market-based system outside of this federal system. There are some new ideas like that could actually start creating competition, which could improve healthcare. And it's not about inputs. It's not about we need to spend more money. The Americans, we spend 20% of a over $20 trillion annual economy. $4 trillion we spend on healthcare, and we don't have the best outcomes. This is not an input problem. It's not about we need to spend more money. It's like we need to figure out how that money is being spent and how that money and what the incentives are. And some of this includes cutting programs that are creating these inequities and stopping stuff. So that's my approach. We cannot fix this by writing more checks.
Thank you.
Our next question is going to be from Lauren Hees, a question on immigration.
So going back to immigration, it's not a secret that the Biden administration has allowed over 8 million illegal immigrants into the country, not counting the gotaways.
Right.
If you become president, how are you going to solve this problem?
First of all, it's got to be number one on the list is we got to close the border. You can't have national security if you don't have secure borders. And I've been down to the border more times than Biden has, more time than Harris has, and I'll be down there in my first 2 weeks. It took Biden 2 years to get down there. But your number, 8 million, is the correct number. That's more than 2 Iowas. I mean, think about Iowa having 0 people the day Biden's inaugurated, and then think about filling it up in 18 months, and then filling it up again in the last 18 months to 8 million people, and you got to feed them. They got to, transportation, housing. I mean, unbelievable the cost, that's come with that. But having been to the border, and I've been down there just recently, we've had deployments from North Dakota National Guard down there, helping to secure the border. but also flying helicopter missions from San Diego to the Gulf Coast in Lakota helicopters at night trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. And this is the most underreported story in America of the open border. It gets talked about in discussions like this, but you could tune on the news today and there's probably not a story about it. 263,000 people came across in October known. That's the largest October ever on record, so they're still pouring in. The president's got 4 levers: diplomatic, informational, military, and economic. I would pull all of those levers, and I'd start with the law enforcement themselves. Our Border Patrol, meeting with the senior leaders down there at the Border Patrol, they're feeling like the police are in our big blue cities. They're basically being defunded. We have thousands of positions open that aren't being filled. You have these multi-generational law enforcement families that grew up and live on the border. They care about this, and they say, we have closed the border before. This is not hard. Give us the leadership, give us the authority, give us the resources. They don't have the resources to do their job, and yet we're spending, in one location that I was at, they were spending $20 million a month on a soft-sided facility, AKA tents, to process. It takes a lot of manpower to process 8 million people into our country, and most of it's paperwork, it's not computer work. So why would you go into law enforcement if you're not on the border, you're doing paperwork? You know who's out on the border? North Dakota National Guard. You know how many apprehensions? We had only a group of 120 people in a sector. They weren't working 24 hours a day, they're working in shifts. So if you're working in 3 shifts, think there's 45 people out there at a time in one little sector. In first 30 days, 30,000 apprehensions, 1,000 a day for our little group. The rest, other people that were uncovered areas just walking into the country. So, and then they're coming from everybody on the watch list, the terrorist watch list. It's not Latin America. I mean, yes, 7.5 million people have fled the corrupt government of Venezuela, and many of them have come here, but over 100 countries in that segment that I was on the border: Syria, Iraq, Iran, North Korea, China, Russia. I mean, the chance that there's a Hamas terrorist cell in the United States that's come in the last 2 years is a high probability. We can end up with another 9/11 type event because of that open border. And then you throw in the drug problem with, we've lost the equivalent of 5 Vietnams to overdose deaths since Joe Biden took office. 5. I mean, 270,000 people have died. 70% of those are fentanyl poisonings. I won't call them overdoses, because it might be the first time they take something that it's not supposed to be lethal, and they die because of it. And so that is the thing. We're taking mass casualties and we're under an invasion. I mean, that's what's happening. So part of it is, yes, again, use all those: diplomacy, informational, military, economic sanctions, close the border, and our Border Patrol can get it done. Then when you get it done, then you could actually have a conversation about what is the smart thing to do about going forward from there. Because we have legal immigration of people that may have been trying for 7 years to get into this country legally, and they're backed up on a bunch of paperwork, and they're feeling, hey, we're trying to follow the rules to get into your country, we can't get in, and then everybody else just gets to walk in. I mean, so the unfairness of that system is unbelievable as well. Canada's picked off over 1 million high-skilled workers that came to the U.S. on student visas. Their student visas ran out. We were trying to send them home, and Canada said, pay us a fee to come there. So we're subsidizing illegal immigration, and Canada is getting paid to have high-skilled workers leave the U.S. and go to Canada. So it's like we're doing it wrong on every end of this thing. Has to be fixed at a time when we have 10 million jobs open in America.
Well, our next question is going to come from Marianne. She's a question related to the fact that Iowa recently passed a law that bans transgender girls from playing girls' sports. I know North Dakota has some similar laws, and she has a question about that type of legislation.
Yeah. Some states have started banning the biological males from playing in female sports. Does this need to be addressed at the federal level?
Well, this is again something that I would say, citing the 10th Amendment. In North Dakota, we've protected women's sports, and I think that's just common sense. But it's not something at the federal level that I don't know if the federal level needs to decide that or not. I mean, the federal, each state gets to decide, how old you can when you drink, how old you can when you smoke, how old you are when you get a tattoo. These are things that, high school athletic associations and state legislators can wrestle with, but it's not something I'd be tackling as president, as a priority, because we have 50 platforms of innovation. We know that people, are mobile in our country, and we're seeing right now that red states are winning. People are leaving blue states and moving to red states, and I think that's a good economic indicator of what policies our country like. We've got, we're not, what's going to fly in North Dakota is not going to fly in New York, but that's okay. Then they lose congressmen, right? And people are leaving those states and going to red states.
Well, I guess my additional question is, when you get to the federal level in sports, then the FCAA, then how do they regulate who comes to play in those sports?
Yeah, well, the NCAA is a non-governmental organization that's overseeing that, and I think that's they're going to have to sort that out because, but again, this is a thing where at the federal government you say, hey, this is. There's so many issues, I say decide them at the NCAA level, decide them at the local school board level, decide them at the local library level. I believe in local control on these issues, and I know that people have been successfully taken incidents and then they nationalize it. It's great for getting out the votes, getting for people activated on social media, but it is, when we're compared to like what we were just talking about, the 8 million people that have come into our country illegally, that's a federal issue. National security, that's a federal issue. You got a handful of 2 or 3 or 4 athletes, that are in the news all the time, but it's the same story. Somebody else has got to fix that. As somebody who's run a global company, I delegate that, say, get that fixed. You guys in your state, figure it out. NCAA, figure it out. But president's got a limited number of things. They got to focus on the big ones, and the big ones are these ones that affect literally all of the 8 million people who have come in are affecting the 340 million people that are here every single day. That's affecting everybody.
And Pepe, you have the next question about addiction.
I did some research on your website and came across some of your viewpoints, specifically on addiction as a root cause of many societal issues like crime, homelessness, and mental health challenges. That's very thought-provoking to me. You mentioned restructuring reimbursement systems for mental health care and involving the private sector in addressing substance abuse disorders. Could you elaborate on your vision for this overhaul and how you plan to integrate private sector participation to combat addiction problems?
Great question, and thank you. Addiction, of course, is addiction and behavioral health. We have a crisis in our whole country. There's over 32 million Americans that are suffering with the disease of addiction. It's a disease, it's a brain disease. That's well understood now. It's not a moral failing. Maybe someone makes a bad choice, but people can be more predisposed or less predisposed biologically to being susceptible, and it's not just genetics. It can be early childhood trauma. It can be a number of factors. It can be concussions from high school sports that affect your brain that could, sets of twins, one twins plays sports, has a bunch of concussions, and one doesn't. This one ends up addicted. Now we understand, how that can affect, through brain science. But it affects, there's 15 million kids in America that are living in a home where one of the adults has the disease of addiction. And the kid may not be young, but they're suffering trauma, which then could, lead to more, it could be economic insecurity, it could be, whether it's drug deals, violence, all the things that could be happening associated with that. Then we've got this generational problem. And then you say about criminal justice, so I started asking when I became governor, well, how many people in the men's prison have a substance abuse disorder? 80%. I was interviewing judges. I've appointed more judges than any other governor in history in North Dakota. And I asked them, what percentage of your job on the work you've done as a prosecutor, a defender, a judge advocate in the court system in North Dakota relates to the disease of addiction? And they, like 80%. I've never had anybody answer less than 80%. In the women's, so 80% of the men's in our men's prison have substance disorder. 100% of the women in the women's correctional system have a substance abuse disorder. And most of them were victims before they were abused sexually or violently before they became users, before they became addicted. So if you take a look at our nation and what we spend on criminal justice, law enforcement and jails and court system, and you said, wow, 80% of that is related to addiction, wouldn't we say, let's go upstream and stop that problem as opposed to building more jails on this end, which is what we've been doing. The war on drugs started in the 1980s. Guess what? Drugs won. Drugs won. We built out all this stuff, and then we're like, we passed a bunch of rules and said, we don't want to have institutions for for people that have mental health issues, and the co-occurrence of mental health and addiction is super high. Among homelessness, it's almost 100%. If you're homeless, you've got an addiction and you've got a mental health issue. So these are health problems. And we can't just keep jailing people, but then we said, oh, we're going to get rid of the large institutions and we have to go to small 16-bed or smaller, which could have been a fine thing. But when we didn't pick it up, we ended up with this expanding homeless problem across our country. And homelessness among veterans is a problem. So with all of that, but then for every family, many families it's personal. The First Lady of North Dakota has been courageous. She suffered for the disease of addiction for 2.5 decades. And then she found recovery after an 8-year battle with relapsing, got into recovery, and then didn't want to talk about it, because what if people find out about my past? What if they find out my DUI? I mean, she had an MBA, she had a career. You're living in shame, you're living in the shadows. When we were the accidental governor and First Lady of North Dakota, I mean accidental because we were such a long shot, we weren't even supposed to win. We weren't supposed to, win, and then we came out of nowhere and ended up, winning by 40 points. But so she was First Lady, said, hey, I'm gonna get this off my shoulders. And so she's been courageously sharing her story about her struggle and her recovery. Now she's been in recovery for 21 years. Now she's on the National Board of Trustees of Hazel and Betty Ford. Now she's bringing awareness to how, whether it's tribal populations or others where we've got high propensity of rates of addiction, what do we need to do as a country to try to solve that? So it is, eliminating the shame and stigma will help more people get care. We can normalize the conversation. That will help people do that. But we've got stigma in healthcare. If you've got the cancer wing that's got somebody's name on from some family donor that gave a bunch of money, you got the orthopedic wing, you got all the sports medicine and the athletes that want to be part of that. And then if you want to try to get addiction services, it's in the basement across town, or it doesn't exist because of still the shame and the stigma, and people and so we've got to normalize it. We've got to fund it. We've met, when she shares her story when we're campaigning, every stop someone comes up and says, yeah, hey, I was able to get my shoulder repaired and I only had to pay a small copay, but I've got a daughter that's got mental health issues and she's suicidal and they're charging me $3 grand a month and I can't get it, my insurance won't cover it. I mean, the inequities around how we treat mental health reimbursements, how we versus physical health, are all over the map. So there's a whole series of things, but the way you start this is actually helping people understand how it's all related. Crime, homelessness, high cost of criminal justice, all of this leads back to the disease of addiction. And if you say, I'm going to stop somebody from using by taking everything that's a misdemeanor and make it into a felony, it doesn't change. It just, in a state like North Dakota, we got 50% more things that are felonies than we had 25 years ago. And guess what? It hasn't changed a thing. But what has changed, one thing we created a program called Peer Support Specialists, where we take people with lived experience, including felons, give them a job. If they're in recovery, then they act as a counselor to 5 or 6 other people that are coming out of the criminal justice system. We have reduced recidivism by we have 1,000 now peer support specialists who have a job. Their job is to help other people they find a place to live, get a driver's license, get a job. Those are the 3 core social determinants of health. If somebody can get a job, get a driver's license, find a place to live, and by the way, if you're a felon, we can discriminate whether you can live there or not. We can discriminate on whether we hire you or not. So when people say they've served their time in our system, it's a life sentence if you're a felon in this country, because you come out and we can legally discriminate against you. Guess where they end up? They end up back in some flop house they end up back in our system. And in North Dakota, we're one of the most efficient. California, it's over $100,000 per year per person. In North Dakota, if you're in the correction system, it's about $45,000. But we should be able to give them a college education and or a career. We've moved CDL simulators, commercial driver's license simulators, into our jail system so they can do all that training when they're still there. CAD/CAM training. When they come out, let's give them a skill. So those peer support specialists actually get paid more if their clients achieve those determinants. So it's a market-based system.
Governor, I do have to stop you there. I'm
sure
sorry. We
you
are
do.
all out of time, but we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate our panelists joining us as well. And to those at home watching, thank you so much for joining us for Coffee with the Candidates. Have a great day.